rotating lay member. The Rules Committee will be Cynthia Diaz as the chair, Drs. Clater and Rossberg, and Mr. Kirchhoff will be on the Rules Committee. Point of discussion on the Enforcement Committee. Those, for instance, just go ahead and lay this out here. As we make those changes and Dr. Allen moves off the Enforcement Committee, he will still be responsible to hear those cases that he has reviewed. And as of this point, Dr. Heflin will start receiving cases to be reviewed. Dr. Allen will continue his role on the Enforcement Committee until such time as he runs out of those cases that he has reviewed. The next item 16, is a discussion, recommendation, possible action regarding board policy relating to the amount of personal time spent annually on requests for public information. Mrs. Oria, you're down.
I can speak to that.
Or you would like Paul to take that? Paul, please take that.
Yeah, item 16 is discussion and recommendation regarding the board's policy relating to the amount of personnel time spent on an annual basis on request for public information. I'll read the proposed policy. Due to the increased number of requests for public information and the limited staff resources with which to fulfill the request, it is hereby the policy of the Texas Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners to limit the amount of time that personnel are required to spend producing public information for inspection or duplication by a requestor, or providing copies of public information to a requestor without recovering costs attributable to personnel time pursuant to Chapter 552 of the Texas Government Code, Section 275. It is the policy of the board to limit personnel time to 36 hours for a requestor during a single fiscal year from September to August. Should the cumulative amount of personnel time spent complying with the requests from the same requestor equal or exceed 36 hours, staff shall provide the requestor with a written estimate of the total cost, including materials, personnel time, and overhead expenses necessary to comply with the request, even if the request is under 50 pages. The staff feels this is a reasonable limit on public information requests allowed under the APA.
Actually, it's the Open Meetings Act.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Open Meetings Act.
Oh, I'm sorry, Public Information Act. One of those acts. It is the Public Information Act.
What she said.
So, if I understand this right, if someone comes to you and asks for information, they can get up to 36 hours for that one request and that information. Did I misunderstand this?
Well, this rule is coming about. We're getting numerous requests from a single requestor, and it doesn't matter how many requests he makes, I think, and Nicole back me up, but cumulatively, no matter the number of requests made by the same individual, it will be capped at 36 hours of personnel time. So yes, 36 hours can be spent on requests for a single requestor under the Public Information Act.
So one person can get 36 hours of y'all's time getting information without being charged, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Is that correct, Nicole?
Yes, they'll be charged for the copy cost and the postage cost, no matter how much time is spent. But anything over 36 hours, we can start charging overhead and personnel time, actual time at $15 an hour, and 20% of that time for the overhead costs.
And that is allowed by the
Public Information.
Mr. Munson, would you like to address this?
Yes.
I would like to say that you are required, the 36 hours, I've read about that as well. You are required to keep that on every requester. You're required to keep records on every single requester. So it's not just me that you'll have to keep the records on, it's every person that requests something.
No, I have set up an Excel spreadsheet that anybody in our office that fills an open records request, there's certain information they will have to fill out on that spreadsheet, and I will keep a running tab of
Okay.
that.
Now, I believe is media is exempt from that,
Yes.
is correct? That correct? Okay.
Yes.
Now, we do have a member of my group that does have a media credential that we can use, so. Thank you.
Seems like an ample amount of time for anybody, for any request. I'm surprised it's 36 hours.
Yeah, we're already getting into a budget crunch, and we've been asked to cut our budget again. So I feel like this is certainly a valid. Any other discussion? Do we need a motion to accept this as policy, or is this? Okay. We'll entertain a motion to accept this as policy.
So moved.
Seconded. Been moved and seconded that we approve this as policy and add it to our policy at this time. Those that approve, say aye.
Aye.
Those that disapprove, say nay. Motion passes.